It was a tough year. She was optimistic. She was hopeful that she was going to get better. Actually, she had a lot more time than they initially said. I had some pain in my chest. I've had lupus for over 15 years.
Yeah.
But I was having this pain in my chest, and I thought it was because I was so sad because we had lost one of my sisters. Rain girl, love when it rains, but my sister Tracy, she loves when it snows, and she died that morning when it was actually pouring down snow in Virginia. So my sister's now a snowflake.
Toni Braxton done been through it all. Fame, fortune, heartbreak, betrayal, and straight-up survival. Y'all see the glitz, the glam, the legendary voice that made the whole world stop. But what y'all don't see? The pain, the secrets, and the battles she had to fight just to stay standing.
I thought I was doing okay until you started talking, and it kind of took me there, but I miss my sister so much every day. But I'm glad to be here and hang out with you and the wonderful fans and everyone in the audience. Thank you guys for having me. Thanks, guys.
She lost her sister, Tracy, in a way that still haunts her. She had to fight for her own damn life after doctors told her she might not make it.
I had some pain in my chest. I've had lupus for over 15 years.
Yeah.
But I was having this pain in my chest, and I thought it was because I was so sad because we had lost one of my sisters. And I was like, I'm just sad, you know.
Sadness, yeah.
And I went to the doctors, and I kept postponing this appointment he wanted me to do. He said, you need to get this checkup, you need to do it. And I kept saying, oh, I'll do it later, I'm fine. And finally he called me up and said, go. I got your appointment for tomorrow, go.
Wow.
So I went, and I remember them saying the doctor, after they did it, the doctor needs to see you. And that's when shortly after that, I was told that I would have had a massive heart attack and I would not have survived. It was my left the main artery, something called the widowmaker or something like that. And even sometimes when I talk about it, I'm sorry guys, I get a little emotional about it.
Of course.
Because I feel so fortunate and so blessed. And I was not going to go to that appointment. You know, you put things off. I'll do it tomorrow. Everything's okay. I'm sure I'm fine. So I'm here today. I'm partnering with Urania to talk about kidney health. I'm talking about lupus nephritis. Something as simple as, you know, always there's an uncomfortable tinkling in that cup.
And through it all, the music industry turned its back on her. Contracts that left her broke. Fake love from people who swore they had her back. And a relationship with Birdman that had the streets talking. For years, she stayed silent, took the hits, kept it pushing. But now, Toni ain't biting her tongue no more. She's spilling everything, the heartbreak, the manipulation, and the dark truths she kept hidden for so long. What really happened to Toni? Why did the industry blackball her? And is there something deeper about her past with Birdman? Stay tuned, because Toni Braxton is finally telling her truth, and it's gonna shake the game. Toni Braxton, born October 7th, 1967 in Severn, Maryland, always held her family close. Her sisters were her rock, her lifeline, her ride or dies.
Rain girl, love when it rains, but my sister Tracy, she loves when it snows, and she died that morning when it was actually pouring down snow in Virginia. So my sister's now a snowflake, and her favorite bird was a hummingbird. And I saw a hummingbird the other day. It just kind of flew around me and kind of suspended itself, and I was like, Tracy? And it started bumping and going up and down, so that made me feel so much better that she was like, I felt like she was trying to say hello to me.
Growing up in Severn, Maryland, they were more than just siblings. They were a unit, a sisterhood built on love, music, and unshakable loyalty. But when Tracy Braxton lost her battle with esophageal cancer in 2022, that unbreakable bond was shattered, leaving Toni in a world of pain she never saw coming. Tracy wasn't just her sister, she was her heart. The one who always kept it real, the one who never switched up no matter what fame or fortune came their way. Losing her wasn't just a tragedy, it was a wound that would never heal. The world saw Toni try to keep it together, saw her put on a brave face, but behind closed doors, she was drowning in grief. What made it even harder to process? Tracy suffered in silence. She didn't want the public's pity, didn't want to be seen as weak, so only the closest family knew how bad it really was. Toni, her sisters, their parents, they rallied around Tracy, holding her hand, praying for a miracle, but deep down, they knew time was slipping away.
It was a tough year. She was optimistic. She was hopeful that she was going to get better. Actually, she had a lot more time than they initially said. She had another 6 months that she was with us. So we got to savor that moment with her and talk and laugh and giggle. And all my sisters and I, my parents, we all rallied together, my brother, and we were in the DC area. And we were just there all the time with her. So we got to see her take her last breath. Yeah, and that part was kind of hard, you know.
And then, the moment that changed everything, watching Tracy take her last breath. That final moment broke Toni in ways she never thought possible. It wasn't just a loss, it was a piece of her soul being ripped away. Life would never be the same again. No more sisterhood like before, no more shared laughter, no more late night talks, just an empty space where Tracy used to be. And for Toni, the pain was just beginning. Toni Braxton had already lost a piece of her soul when her sister Tracy passed away. But while she was grieving, her own body was turning against her. What the world didn't know was that Toni wasn't just battling heartbreak, she was fighting for her life. Back in 2008, Toni was diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE, a vicious autoimmune disease that attacked her joints, skin, and even her organs. It was a silent killer, creeping up on her, draining her strength, and forcing her to push through pain that most people couldn't even imagine. But the industry didn't want to hear about it. Sick artists don't sell records. Toni was told to keep it quiet, to put on a smile and keep performing like nothing was wrong. But behind the scenes, she was struggling. Fatigue hit her like a ton of bricks. Simple tasks became exhausting. Some days, even getting out of bed felt impossible. She was running on empty, but she refused to stop. Then in 2022, it almost killed her. Toni had been ignoring the warning signs for months. Chest tightness, shortness of breath, extreme fatigue. She brushed it off, thinking it was just part of her lupus battle. She had too much to do, too much to prove. She wasn't about to let her illness slow her down. But then, doctors ran some tests and dropped a bombshell. She had an 80% blockage in her left main coronary artery. In simple terms, she was one heartbeat away from a massive heart attack. If they hadn't caught it in time, Toni Braxton wouldn't be here today. She needed emergency surgery, and a stent was placed in her heart to save her life. The thought of it shook her to the core. She'd been ignoring her own body, playing a dangerous game with her life. And suddenly it hit her. If she didn't start prioritizing her health, she might not live long enough to see her kids grow up. Toni later admitted that she believed Tracy had been her guardian angel, guiding the doctors to find the problem before it was too late. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was divine intervention. Either way, she got a second chance. But survival came at a cost. The music industry is cruel when it comes to artists who show weakness. Toni knew she had to start slowing down, taking care of herself, and putting her well-being first. That meant making hard choices. That meant stepping away from music when she didn't want to. The world saw Toni Braxton as the glamorous, unstoppable R&B queen. But behind the lights, behind the fame, she was just trying to stay alive. And after nearly losing everything, one thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. Toni Braxton and Birdman. Now that was a couple nobody saw coming. When word got out that they were together, people were straight up confused. Toni, the queen of R&B, known for her elegance and soulful voice, and Birdman, the cash money mogul with gold teeth and a reputation for running the rap game with an iron fist. It didn't make sense, but somehow against all odds, they found love. Or so we thought. Their relationship was a roller coaster from the start. 1 minute, they were inseparable. The next, they were dodging breakup rumors. They got engaged in 2018, but by 2019, they had already called it off, only to get back together again. For years, their love story was one big question mark. But in 2025, Toni decided to set the record straight. She hopped on Instagram and shut it all down. She made it clear that whatever people thought about her and Birdman, it wasn't what it seemed. In her own words, "We were never married. We are both single." So what the hell happened? Insiders say Toni saw something she couldn't ignore. Birdman was always a mysterious figure, but there were too many rumors, too many secrets. Some whispers suggested his preferences weren't what he let the world believe. Others claimed his business dealings weren't always above board. Even after their engagement was over, Birdman wasn't ready to let her go. He still showed up for her during her health battles, still played the role of the supportive partner. But Toni wasn't blind. She knew love wasn't enough. Trust had already been broken. And then came the money issue. Birdman had a long history of not paying his artists. Lil Wayne, Tyga, and others had all accused him of playing dirty with finances. Toni had already been burned by the music industry before. Her Her 2 bankruptcies and bad contracts had left her broke once. She wasn't about to let it happen again. Was Birdman just another heartbreak? Another mistake? Maybe. Or maybe Toni just realized that some love stories aren't meant to last. Whatever the case, she walked away. And this time, she wasn't looking back. Toni Braxton sold over 70 million records, won 7 Grammys, and became one of the biggest R&B legends of all time. But despite all that success, she ended up broke, twice. In 1998, the world was straight up shocked when news broke that Toni had filed for bankruptcy. How does an artist selling millions of albums not have a dime to their name? The truth was ugly. Her record deal was a damn scam. Toni was only making 33 cents per album while her label was pocketing millions.
Break my heart, say you love me again.
She was out here working, touring, and pushing hits. But at the end of the day, she barely saw a piece of the money she earned. And when she realized what was going on and tried to fight back, the industry turned on her. She sued her label, trying to get the money she rightfully deserved, but that came with consequences. Suddenly, promoters, executives, and even some artists started acting funny. Calls stopped coming in, deals dried up, and Toni was getting blackballed behind the scenes. The same industry that built her up was now trying to break her down. By 2010, history repeated itself. Toni filed for bankruptcy a second time. But this time, it wasn't just the industry robbing her blind, it was also her health. Toni's battle with lupus made it hard for her to tour and perform at the same level she once did. And in the cutthroat world of the music business, if you're not making money, you're disposable. Labels didn't want to invest in an artist they saw as damaged goods. But Babyface wasn't about to let her go out like that. Kenny Babyface Edmonds, the man who helped launch Toni's career, came to her rescue. He reminded her of her gift, her talent, her voice. Together they recorded an album, and despite everything she had been through, it won her another Grammy. Toni had proven she still had it. But the industry had already made up its mind. She was no longer their golden girl. They weren't going to push her to the top again. Toni Braxton didn't fall off. She was pushed. If you made it this far, you already know Toni Braxton's story is deeper than anyone ever knew. The pain, the loss, the betrayal, she's been through it all. And if you want more exclusive deep dives into the truth behind your favorite celebs, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now.